Well, it's about time that we talk about Brian's favorite topic. We're already well into the show. We haven't talked about Roundup yet, Brian, so you just as well go ahead and do it.
Well, every segment's got to be about Roundup, you know.
I see that.
Well, I just think it's funny, though, because on farms, Roundup is probably the thing you spend the least amount on. But for some farmers, it's what they spend the most amount of time on, trying to find a better deal and save an extra nickel on Roundup when they should be working on what's my fertility plan going into next year. And how about disease control and insect control, managing the seed that I'm going to buy? I mean, a lot of farms are spending $400, $500 on inputs and rent and everything else, and you know, the Roundup might be $2. Yeah, I mean, it's just a minor thing. But still, it's a topic everybody's interested in, so let's talk today about how low is the Roundup price going and what's changing next year with name brand Roundup, generic, and that whole market.
Well, it's an interesting comparison because it's not just, well, what's your price and what's your price? Because there's 6-pound Roundup, there's 5-pound Roundup, 4-pound Roundup. There's all these different formulations out there, and then there's lots of different companies that are making different glyphosate products. There's, of course, the big guys, Monsanto and Dow and Syngenta, but there's many other players. DuPont's getting in the glyphosate market. There's probably 20 or 30 generic companies at least that are making...
20 or 30? There are hundreds of generic companies now.
Well, that are in your local market. There may be 20 different products out there. So you've got to compare, well, okay, what's the difference in the jug, but then also how are the companies going to handle those products as far as any service policies or rebate programs, those kind of things. And of course, that gets us right into what Monsanto's doing.
Okay, so first of all, a lot of these things are not changing until once we get past September 1st. What we are kind of looking for, though, is on the generic glyphosate side, we think that the price to the farmer, the price you should be paying, should be down around that $2 an acre range. We do believe generic is going to come down probably just as low as it went to last fall, if not even a little bit lower. Now, what Monsanto is doing is they have done a lot of work on trying to develop good formulations of glyphosate to try to increase their overall production and those kinds of things. So they've got a lot of supply, they've got a good supply, and they know they have to be price competitive. So here's what they've done, it looks like, going into 2011.
Well, the first thing Monsanto plans to do is lower their price down towards where generics are at. Now, they've also got a program where if you're using a pre-emerge herbicide, one of the pre's on their approved list, well, you're going to get a rebate that's going to make that price even more competitive.
Yeah, okay, so in corn, for example, if you use Harness Extra, or their new Triple Flex, or maybe they'll have other products on that list as well, then you would qualify for $1.50 an acre rebate towards WeatherMax, or $1 an acre towards PowerMax. So in other words, if you're buying, let's say Harness, for example, down, your choice is I could use WeatherMax, I could use PowerMax, or I could use generic. Literally, the WeatherMax and PowerMax, their plan is to have that, by the time you get their rebates back, to have that be less than the generic price. Less.
Well, less than $2 an acre. That sounds like we should really be worrying about this Roundup thing a lot here.
Okay, and then on the soybean side, same kind of deal here. If you use one of the products on their approved list, so that's Valor, Gangster, their intro product, or their new Warrant, then you would get $1.50 towards WeatherMax or $1 towards PowerMax. So again, that would get that price of the Roundup, the name brand Roundup, down below where generic is at.
Well, the big program that Monsanto's had for a few years has been with Select Max for killing volunteer corn, and that's the question that a lot of guys have had. Well, if they lower those prices on the Roundup brands, are they still going to have this program where I can save money with Select Max?
Yeah, they're going to, and that also will be $1.50 on WeatherMax or $1 on PowerMax towards Select Max. Now, right away, you might say, well, Select Max was quite a bit higher, so I need a bigger rebate. We believe that Valent is going to lower the price on Select Max. So here again, there are generic alternatives to the Select Max, but we believe that once you get that rebate from Monsanto towards WeatherMax or PowerMax, that should put the Select Max price down below the price of generic.
Okay, so they're lowering some of the benefits with the Roundup brands, but what about some of the other benefits? There are so many things on the Roundup Rewards program from last year. Are they keeping all of those, or where is that going to fall?
Yeah, so most of the Roundup Rewards program will still be intact. The two things that are changing is, first of all, their Start Clean, Stay Clean program appears like that's going to go away. And what that was if you used Harness Down followed by Roundup, they would pay for part or all of another shot of Roundup if you needed to, that's going away. Same thing in soybeans. If you used Valor down, for example, followed with Roundup, they would pay for part of or all of the next shot of Roundup after that. That Start Clean, Stay Clean program appears like that's going away. The other thing is the crop loss benefits on Roundup Rewards. Now, all the rest of the Roundup Rewards program appears like that's going to remain the same.
You know, one thing we were talking about earlier is just the amount of supply of glyphosate out there and how Monsanto is upping their production on Roundup. To me, that just spells glut, which means they've got to get that product out. Are there going to be some programs to push Roundup out the door?
Most likely they're going to have some early stocking programs for dealers and for farmers. So I would look for something the first part of September. And I know you might not want to carry product through the winter, but they're going to try to make it worth your while from what I understand. The other thing is, I guess in summary of all these changes that are going on, Monsanto is a United States company and they just don't want to give up that US market. There have been some generic products coming in from other countries, and Monsanto has just drawn the line in the sand and said, you know what, the US is ours. We don't care what we have to do. We want to make sure farmers are using Roundup again.
Well, fortunately, Roundup will be getting a little bit cheaper next year because we've got so many tough weeds like our weed of the week. Can you identify this week's weed?